Welcome back to Wise Wolf. I'm Kokil and thank you for joining me to celebrate the full Beaver Moon on November 5th, 2025. The Beaver Moon rises tonight as we approach winter, named for the time when beavers finish building their lodges and prepare for the cold months ahead. It's a moon about preparation, about gathering what truly nourishes, about building systems that sustain life through challenging seasons. Today, we're diving deep into something that literally fuels consciousness itself. Food as brain fuel. Not necessarily food from a weight loss perspective, but food that powers the most sophisticated piece of biological machinery in the known universe, your brain. This isn't an episode on just nutrition. It's about understanding that every bite you take either supports or undermines your ability to think clearly, feel emotionally stable, create, focus, memorize, and experience the fullness of being alive. Let's start with something fundamental that might shift how you think about food forever. Food is energy, not just calories or nutrients, but actual energy in the most literal, tangible sense. The body is not separate from nature. It is nature. You're not a machine that runs on any fuel. You're a living ecosystem that thrives when given what it was designed to process and suffers when given substances it doesn't recognize. Every cell in the body is constantly rebuilding itself from the materials you provide through food. The brain chemistry, your energy levels, emotional stability, the mental clarity, all of it depends on the raw materials you're feeding your system. The brain is the control center for the entire body. So when you eat junk, it doesn't just affect the waistline eventually, it affects the brain immediately, which then sends those compromised signals throughout your entire system. You may not notice the effects at a younger age when the body is more resilient, but sooner or later the eating habits do catch up and they impact the brain's function way before they create visible effects on the rest of the body. Brain fog, mood swings, anxiety, depression, lack of focus, poor memory, these are often the first symptoms of poor nutrition, showing up years before physical disease manifests. By the time you're dealing with diabetes, heart disease, or obesity, the brain has been suffering for a long time already. The brain represents only about 2% of the body weight, but it consumes roughly 20% of our total energy. It's the most metabolically expensive tissue we have. Every thought, every emotion, every moment of awareness costs energy. When you eat, you're not primarily feeding the muscles or building your body. You're fueling consciousness itself. You're providing the raw materials for neurotransmitters, the energy for neural firing, the building blocks of maintaining the physical structure through which you experience reality. The brain primarily relies on glucose, a simple sugar, as its main energy source for thinking, learning, memory, and maintaining neurological health. Glucose is continuously delivered from your bloodstream and supports millions of highly energy demanding activities performed by neurons. When glucose supply is insufficient due to low blood sugar levels, fasting, or metabolic disturbances, neuronal communication breaks down, which immediately impacts cognition, attention, mood, and coordination. But not all glucose delivery systems are equal, and this is where most people's brain function gets sabotaged. When you eat processed carbohydrates or pure sugar, your blood glucose spikes rapidly. The brain gets flooded with fuel all at once, which feels great for maybe 20-30 minutes. You feel energized, focused, maybe even euphoric. Then insulin rushes in to manage the spike. Your blood sugar crashes below baseline, and the brain suddenly finds itself starving for fuel. This crash affects everything: your mood swings with your blood sugar, your focus disappears, your decision making becomes impaired, you feel irritable, anxious, foggy, and you reach for more quick carbs to feel better, creating a vicious cycle of spikes and crashes that leaves your brain perpetually unstable and never functioning optimally. This crash affects everything. Your mood swings with your blood sugar, your focus disappears, your decision making becomes impaired, you feel irritable, anxious, foggy, and you reach for more quick carbs to feel better, creating a vicious cycle of spikes and crashes that leaves your brain perpetually unstable and never functioning optimally. This is why monitoring blood glucose matters, not primarily for weight loss or diabetes management, but because stable blood sugar equals stable brain function, stable mood, and stable consciousness. When you eat whole foods, especially those with fiber, fat, and protein alongside carbohydrates, glucose releases slowly and steadily into your bloodstream. Your brain gets consistent fuel without the spikes and crashes. You feel clear, focused, emotionally stable for hours. This is the foundation of brain-focused eating. But here's a fun fact. Glucose isn't your brain's only fuel option. The brain can also run on ketones, compounds produced when your body burns fat for energy. When you fast, eat very low carbohydrate, or follow a ketogenic diet, your liver converts fat into ketone bodies that your brain can use extremely efficiently. Many people report superior mental clarity on ketones compared to glucose. The brain evolved to run well on ketones during periods of food scarcity. This is an ancient adaptation that allowed our ancestors to remain mentally sharp while hunting for food, even when they hadn't eaten in days. The key point is that the brain needs stable, clean fuel, whether that's steady glucose from whole foods or ketones from fat metabolism. The problem isn't glucose itself. It's the unstable delivery from processed carbohydrates and added sugars that creates the roller coaster effect. Sugar also hijacks your brain's dopaminergic system, the reward and motivation pathway. Eating sugary foods triggers dopamine release in the same areas activated by addictive drugs, reinforcing the pleasure associated with sugar and promoting compulsive consumption. Sugar creates actual addictive responses in your brain chemistry. The food industry knows this and engineers products to maximize this response. They're literally designing food to be addictive, to override your natural satiety signals, to keep you buying and consuming, regardless of whether it nourishes your brain. But here's something very important to understand. Virtually every modern condition, mental or physical, is directly or indirectly related to diet and sugar intake. ADHD, depression, anxiety, brain fog. These mental conditions are strongly correlated with blood sugar dysregulation and inflammatory diets. Inflammation in the body, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, autoimmune diseases, are all connected to processed food consumption and sugar intake. We think we're saving time by grabbing processed meals or eating on the run, but we're stealing time from our future selves. Time we'll lose to brain fog, illness, medical appointments, and reduced quality of life. The convenience now creates inconvenience later, and the brain pays the price first. Let's take a quick look at our inner ecosystem and the gut-brain axis. Inside our digestive system lives an entire universe, trillions of microorganisms that make up for our gut microbiome. These bacteria, fungi, and other microbes aren't just passive passengers. They're actively involved in producing neurotransmitters, regulating our immune system, and literally communicating with the brain. Scientists now call the gut our second brain because of the extensive network of neurons lining our digestive tract, about 500 million neurons that form the enteric nervous system. This gut brain is in constant bidirectional communication with the head brain through multiple pathways, including nerves, hormones, and immune signals. About 90% of our serotonin, the neurotransmitter associated with mood and well being, is produced in our gut, not the brain, but in the gut. The gut microbiota also produces dopamine and other neurotransmitters that directly affect our mood, anxiety, motivation, and cognitive function. This communication happens primarily through the vagus nerve, the longest nerve in our parasympathetic nervous system, the 10th cranial nerve containing about 80% sensory fibers and 20% motor fibers. The vagus nerve acts as a sophisticated highway between the gut and the brain, transmitting signals in both directions. This communication happens primarily through the vagus nerve, the longest nerve in our parasympathetic nervous system, the 10th cranial nerve containing about 80% sensory fibers and 20% motor fibers. Sensory neurons in the vagus nerve have specialized receptors in the gut that detect stretch, tension, chemical signals, and microbial metabolites. These neurons pick up information about the gut environment and transmit it rapidly to the brainstem's nucleus of the solitary tract, a key sensory integration hub. From there, signals are relayed to higher brain regions. These pathways enable the brain to regulate digestion, metabolism, stress response, mood, cognitive function, and even reward processing based on what's happening in the gut. When your gut microbiome is healthy and diverse, beneficial bacteria send positive signals through the vagus nerve to your brain. You feel clear, energized, emotionally stable, resilient to stress. When your gut is damaged or out of balance, inflammatory signals travel up that same highway, contributing to brain fog, anxiety, depression, and cognitive decline. The best way to feed your gut-brain connection is by eating nutritious food. Eating nutritious food supports healthy gut bacteria, which strengthens vagus nerve signaling and improves the gut-brain connection. The gut microbiota produces metabolites that interact directly with the vagal nerve endings, modulating activity and influencing everything from digestion to mental states and interoceptive awareness, your brain's perception of internal body states. One of the most powerful ways to support this ecosystem is through fermented foods. Foods transformed by beneficial bacteria, yogurt, kefir, kimchi, kombucha, miso, tempeh, traditional pickles. These aren't just trendy superfoods. They're ancient technologies for maintaining microbial communities that support both gut and brain health. Every traditional culture developed fermentation practices independently, realizing that adding fermented foods to their main meals supported their gut health. Modern processed food does the opposite. It contains preservatives specifically designed to kill bacteria, which means they're killing beneficial microbes in the gut that support optimal brain function. Poor diet, stress, or infection disrupts the microbiome, leading to intestinal permeability or leaky gut, allowing inflammatory molecules to enter your bloodstream, negatively affecting vagus nerve signaling and contributing to mood disorders. Yoga asanas and pranayama tie deeply into vagus nerve function and the gut-brain axis. Controlled yogic breathing practices, especially those emphasizing slow, deep exhalation like ujjayi or diaphragmatic breathing, mechanically stimulate the vagus nerve through diaphragmatic engagement and lung stretch receptors. This activates the parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system, reducing stress, lowering heart rate, increasing vagal tone linked to calmness and emotional regulation. Certain yoga postures involving gentle spinal twists, chest openings, neck stretches, and inversions stimulate areas anatomically near the vagus nerve or engage core muscles that massage abdominal organs. These postures help activate vagus nerve afferents, promote digestive organ blood flow, improve gastrointestinal motility, and foster relaxation. By balancing autonomic nervous system activity through mindfulness, meditation, breathing, and physical movement, yoga helps counter sympathetic overactivity, which negatively impacts gut microbiome and vagal signaling. Enhanced interoceptive awareness through yoga, the brain's perception of internal bodily states mediated by vagus nerve, supports emotional regulation and bodily balance. Regular yoga practice improves heart rate variability, a marker of vagal tone, and modulates brain circuits related to cognition and emotion, possibly connected to gut-brain axis improvement. When you combine proper nutrition with practices that activate the vagus nerve, you create a powerful feedback loop. Better gut health improves vagal tone, which improves brain function, which helps you make better food choices, which further supports gut health. It's a virtuous cycle of consciousness supporting itself. Your brain is approximately 75% water. This isn't coincidental. Water is the medium in which all cellular processes happen, including every neurological function. Even mild dehydration, as little as 2%, impairs cognitive performance, mood, concentration, and memory. Think about that. You can be operating at reduced mental capacity simply because you're slightly thirsty. Most people walk around chronically dehydrated without realizing it because they've adapted to feeling foggy and tired, thinking it's normal. But here's a bigger problem. Most foods sold in the supermarkets actively dehydrate you. Processed foods are loaded with salt, sugar, and preservatives that pull water from the system. Your body then has to use precious water resources just to process and eliminate these substances instead of using that water for brain function. Then we try to compensate with beverages that dehydrate us further: coffee, energy drinks, sodas, alcohol, all of which require additional water to metabolize while providing no usable hydration to brain cells. Real hydration comes from clean water itself and from foods with high water content: fruits, vegetables, foods as they exist in nature. When you eat a cucumber, for example, or an orange, watermelon, or any leafy greens, you're getting structured water that your cells can use immediately for optimal function. There's an old saying in some wellness traditions: drink your food and eat your water. This means chewing your food thoroughly until it's nearly liquid and eating water-rich foods rather than relying only on beverages. This is why people who shift to eating more whole, unprocessed foods often report dramatic improvements in mental clarity, energy, and mood before losing any weight. Their brains are finally getting adequate hydration, and the nutrients can actually reach brain cells efficiently. Your body is not concrete. It's not fixed. It can change. Your skeleton completely regenerates every 10 years. Your muscles rebuild themselves constantly in response to how you use them. Even your brain creates new neural pathways throughout your entire life, a process called neuroplasticity. This means that the body and brain you have today don't have to be the body and brain you have tomorrow. You're not stuck with low energy, brain fog, poor focus, mood instability, or cognitive decline. These are changeable conditions based on what you feed your system and how you use it. But transformation requires the right building materials. Your bones need calcium, magnesium, vitamin D, and vitamin K2, nutrients that come from real food, not supplements designed in labs. Your muscles need not just protein, but the full spectrum of amino acids, minerals, and cofactors that come packaged together in whole foods. Your brain needs omega-3 fatty acids, B vitamins, antioxidants, amino acids, minerals. When you eat nutrient-poor processed food, you're trying to build sophisticated neural architecture with inferior materials. It's like trying to build a precision instrument out of cheap plastic. It might technically function, but it won't function well or last long. Muscle tissue and strong skeletal system don't just matter for athletic performance, they're directly tied to healthy circulation and brain vitality. A powerful body supports a powerful mind. Every movement, every lift, every stretch sends more oxygen and nutrients to the brain, removes metabolic waste, and stimulates production of BDNF, the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, essentially the fertilizer for your brain. Nutrition isn't just about what you eat. It's about how well your body can deliver and use what you eat, and that requires movement. Nutrition isn't just about what you eat. It's about how well your body can deliver and use what you eat, and that requires movement. Physical movement increases blood flow to the brain, delivering oxygen and nutrients while removing waste products. It improves insulin sensitivity, helping your brain to use glucose more efficiently. It reduces inflammation throughout the body and brain. Your circulatory system doesn't just happen automatically. While your heart pumps blood, the lymphatic system, which removes waste from brain tissue, has no pump. It relies entirely on movement to circulate. This is why sedentary people often feel mentally foggy no matter how well they eat, and why people who move regularly often have sharper minds, even with less than perfect diets. Movement multiplies the brain-boosting benefits of good nutrition by ensuring those nutrients actually reach where they're needed. The human body was designed for regular movement throughout the day, walking, reaching, lifting, carrying, stretching, not marathon running or extreme exercise necessarily, just consistent, varied movement. This is biomimicry at the human level, designing your lifestyle to match what your body is evolved to do. Brains need more than good food. They need movement. Even simple walks can reset a foggy mind, improve focus, boost creativity, and stabilize mood. The combination of proper nutrition and regular movement creates conditions for optimal brain function. Our diets also influence gene expression. The foods you eat can literally turn protective genes on or harmful genes off through epigenetic mechanisms. Your lifestyle and diet choices can impact how genes related to brain function, aging, inflammation, and disease risk actually operate. This means you're not stuck with whatever genetic hand you were dealt. While you can't change your DNA sequence, you can influence which part of it gets expressed and how strongly. Nutrition is one of the most powerful epigenetic factors. Nutritional choices affect inflammation and brain health, thereby modulating cognitive function. Western diets, high in sugar and processed foods, promote inflammation and can switch on genes related to disease. Diets that promote healthy gut microbiota help regulate neurotransmitters like serotonin that influence mood and cognition, while potentially switching on protective genes. And this is how the vagus nerve, gut health, and DNA interact. Eating nutritious food supports healthy gut bacteria, which strengthens vagus nerve signaling, which influences how your brain interprets internal body states, which affects your stress response and emotional regulation, which impacts gene expression through epigenetic pathways. This connection between diet, gut microbiome, vagus nerve activity, brain function, and gene expression is foundational for general well-being and possibly for experiencing heightened awareness, or what some traditions call higher consciousness. Now, of course, there's no single perfect diet for every brain because we're all slightly different, but there are principles that work across different approaches. Ketogenic diets, for example, shift our brain to burning fat or ketones, as we discussed earlier, instead of glucose for fuel. Many people have reported remarkable mental clarity on keto because ketones provide extremely stable energy without blood sugar roller coaster. This approach can be particularly powerful for neurological issues and cognitive decline. Mediterranean diets emphasize foods proven to support cognitive function. Fatty fish rich in omega-3s, olive oil, nuts, vegetables, whole grains, and fermented foods. Studies consistently show this pattern reduces cognitive decline and supports brain health across the lifespan. Plant-based whole food diets can support brain function beautifully when done well, providing abundant antioxidants, fiber for gut health, and stable blood sugar. The key is ensuring adequate B12, omega-3s, complete proteins, and avoiding the trap of processed vegan junk food. Paleo diet focus on foods humans ate before agriculture, meats from animals eating their natural diets, fish, vegetable, fruits, nuts, and avoiding grains and processed foods. Now, what do all brain healthy diets have in common? They eliminate processed junk, stabilize blood sugar, reduce inflammation, support gut health, and provide the building materials the brain needs. The specific ratio of fats, proteins, and carbs varies, but the foundation is the same: real food that your body and brain recognize and can use efficiently. Since I'm obsessed with colors, something I've recently included in my diet is what I call a rainbow meal, though I later discovered there's an actual rainbow diet that I had accidentally already been practicing. This could work really well for kids if your child doesn't like eating fruits and vegetables. The rainbow diet encourages consuming a wide variety of colorful fruits and vegetables to get a broad spectrum of vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients. The bright pigments in plants come from natural compounds called phytonutrients or phytochemicals. These have unique health benefits, including antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. Each color corresponds to different health-promoting compound. Red foods, for example, are rich in lycopene, supporting heart health. The diversity of colors on your plate ensures you consume a broader range of nutrients and beneficial compounds that support overall health. It's simple and intuitive, more practical than counting calories or tracking specific nutrients. It encourages healthy habits by making meals visually appealing and enjoyable. A diet rich in different colored plant foods introduces a variety of fibers and nutrients that feed beneficial bacteria in your gut, leading to a healthier microbiome and consequently better brain function through the gut-brain axis. Benefits include reduced risk of chronic disease, improved immune function, better brain Benefits include reduced risk of chronic health disease. Benefits include reduced risk of chronic disease, improved immune function, better brain health, enhanced skin health, and healthy weight management. Nutrient-dense fruit and vegetables are often low in calories but high in fiber, helping you feel satisfied. Nutrient-dense fruits and vegetables are often low in calories but high in fiber, helping you feel satisfied. Note that this concept doesn't apply to artificial colored processed foods like candy or sugary cereals. These don't provide the same health benefits as natural plant food. The rainbow needs to come from nature and not food labs. One of the most powerful nutritional tools has nothing to do with what you eat. It's about when you don't eat. Fasting, giving your digestive system regular breaks, has been practiced by every spiritual tradition and traditional culture throughout history, not only as a way of practicing self-control, but as a tool for clarity, healing, and connection with something larger than constant consumption. When you fast, even for short periods, the body shifts into a different metabolic mode. Instead of constantly processing incoming food, it focuses on cellular repair, clearing damaged proteins, reducing inflammation, and creating new neural connections. Many people report that fasting creates remarkable mental clarity. Thoughts become sharper, emotions are more stable, creativity is more accessible, and focus intensifies. It isn't just a spiritual or a mystical concept. It's a way to give your brain some space and resources to optimize function instead of constantly processing food and information. During fasting, The brain actually becomes more efficient at using whatever fuel is available. It teaches your system to function well without constant glucose spikes, creating metabolic flexibility. Short-term fasting, like 16-hour overnight fasts, eating within an 8-hour window, can be incredibly beneficial for brain function for most people. Even just giving your brain a 12-hour break from digestion overnight supports cognitive performance the next day. Longer fasts can be powerful, but should be approached carefully and with guidance, especially if you have any health conditions or history of disordered eating. The deeper lesson of fasting is that you don't need to be constantly consuming to be okay. There's power in emptiness, in creating space, in trusting that you have reserves and resilience you haven't been accessing. Fasting teaches your body and brain to be comfortable in states of temporary scarcity, which actually makes you more resilient. However, eating for brain health is quite challenging in our current food environment. Processed junk food is specifically engineered, literally designed by food scientists to hijack the brain's reward system. They work to find the exact combinations of sugar, salt, fat, and artificial flavors that trigger maximum dopamine release, the same neurotransmitter system involved in drug addiction. Sugar, in particular, lights up your brain's pleasure centers as intensely as cocaine. Highly processed carbohydrates create blood sugar spikes that flood the brain with glucose, creating a temporary high followed by a crash that drives cravings for more. Artificial flavors override our natural satiety signals to keep us eating past fullness. This isn't about willpower anymore. Junk food is designed to override the brain's natural regulatory systems and create addictive consumption patterns. Your brain is being manipulated by substances designed to keep you buying and eating, regardless of whether they support your cognitive function or overall health. The brain fog, mood swings, lack of focus, anxiety, depression, and mental fatigue that many people accept as normal are often just symptoms of this addiction cycle combined with nutrient deficiency. Your brain is constantly riding a blood sugar roller coaster while being starved of the actual nutrients it needs to function. It is vital at this point to opt in for liberation and opt out of manipulation, not through shame or rigid restriction, but through compassion. Compassion for your brain and recognition that you deserve to think clearly, feel stable, and operate at your full cognitive potential. The same corporations that profit from selling you disease-causing processed foods are often connected to pharmaceutical companies that profit from selling the drugs to treat diseases that food creates. It's their business model to keep people addicted to cheap, inflammatory, nutrient-poor food that creates chronic disease and cognitive dysfunction, and then sell them medications to manage those diseases and symptoms, but not actually cure the disease because cured patients won't make profitable customers. The food industry spends billions on advertising to make junk food seem appealing and even healthy by using terms like natural, wholesome, fortified on packaging. The pharmaceutical industry spends billions convincing you that your health problems require pharmaceutical solutions rather than simple dietary or lifestyle changes. Meanwhile, genuinely brain-nourishing foods, vegetables, fermented foods, healthy fats, clean proteins, whole grain foods don't require marketing budgets. And this is why personal liberation through food choices is actually resistance against systems designed to profit from your sickness, confusion, and cognitive decline. Every time you choose real food over processed substances, you're opting out of a system that doesn't serve you. On a different, more positive note, humans can slow down or partially reverse aging, particularly brain aging, by managing diet and lifestyle. What research shows us about longevity, brain health, and Mediterranean diets, people who live past 100, often consume balanced, diverse diets rich in whole grains, fruits, vegetables, lean protein, and healthy fats. These eating patterns emphasized in Mediterranean and Blue Zone diets, support reduced inflammation, better blood sugar regulation, and cell protection, all important for brain and body longevity. Proper hydration is crucial. A well-functioning gut microbiome supported by fermented foods enhances nutrient absorption and brain function through the gut-brain axis we discussed. Diet and lifestyle can influence gene expression related to aging and brain function through epigenetic mechanisms, essentially turning protective genes on or off. Mental stimulation and stress management support brain plasticity and delay cognitive aging. The brain maintains ability to form new connections throughout life if given the right support. Ancient texts from various cultures sometimes claimed human lifespan of 200 years or even longer. While these are largely regarded as mythological or symbolic, they often emphasized concepts of nourishing life holistically, balancing physical, mental, and spiritual nourishment. Contemporary research shows that while most historical figures lived around 70 years, if not cut short by violence or disease, small populations did reach very advanced ages linked to genetics combined with lifestyle factors. Studies repeatedly highlight factors strongly associated with living past 100 years. Limiting processed foods, managing salt and sugar intake, and emphasizing plant-based antioxidants support brain integrity and reduce risks of neurodegenerative diseases. The key insight is that while we may not achieve the mythological lifespans of ancient texts, we absolutely can extend our healthy years, particularly our cognitive healthy years, through intentional nutrition and lifestyle choices. To cleanse the brain, it is vital to cleanse the gut. Your colon isn't just a waste disposal system. It's a major site of nutrient absorption, neurotransmitter production, and immune system function. When your colon is congested, inflamed, or dealing with years of accumulated waste, it creates systemic inflammation that directly affects brain function. Think about it. If waste isn't moving efficiently through your system, toxins get reabsorbed into your bloodstream. These toxins cross the blood-brain barrier and interfere with neural function. Your brain literally becomes foggy because your elimination system isn't working properly. Colon cleansing doesn't have to be an extreme process. It can be as simple as drinking more water, eating fiber-rich foods that move waste through efficiently, including fermented foods that support healthy gut motility, occasional fasting that gives your digestive system complete rest, and avoiding constipating processed foods. When people do proper gut cleansing, whether through dietary changes, fasting, or supervised cleanse protocols, they often report the brain fog lifts first, before any other symptoms improve. This is because reducing the toxic load allows the brain to function optimally again. Throughout these episodes, we've explored how humans are part of cosmic intelligence, expressing the same patterns that organize all of life. This principle applies profoundly to brain nutrition. Your brain operates according to circadian rhythms refined over millions of years. Eating aligned with these rhythms supports optimal cognitive function. Eating heavier meals during the daylight, when your digestive system is strongest and the brain needs fuel for activity, your body produces more digestive enzymes and has better insulin sensitivity during day hours. Lighter meals in the evening allows your brain to shift towards repair and consolidation during sleep. Heavy evening meals force your system to digest when it should be resting and repairing. Fasting overnight to give your brain time for cleanup and optimization processes that only happen when you're not digesting. This is when cellular recycling occurs most actively. Eat seasonal foods when possible. Your brain evolved expecting different nutrients in different seasons. Winter foods tend to be more warming and dense, summer foods more cooling and hydrating. There's wisdom in this pattern. Eat whole foods as nature designed them. The components work synergetically to support brain function in ways we're still discovering. And orange provides not just vitamin C, but fiber, flavonoids, and compounds that work together. A supplement provides isolated vitamin C that your body doesn't recognize or use the same way. None of this is about achieving perfection of any kind. It's about recognizing that your brain functions best when aligned with natural patterns rather than forced to adapt to artificial feeding schedules and processed substances that didn't exist until very recently in human history. And all of this information, the gut-brain axis, blood sugar management, fermented foods, movement, hydration, DNA, fasting, all of it comes down to one simple thing. So you can go through life with less resistance, with more grace, with a better, more pleasant experience of being alive. That's it. That's the goal. When your brain is well nourished, when your gut is healthy, when your blood sugar is stable, when inflammation is low, life just flows better. Decisions come more easily, emotions are more stable, creativity flows, focus comes naturally, you have energy for the things that actually matter. When your brain is struggling, foggy, inflamed, starved of nutrients, riding blood sugar roller coasters, everything becomes harder. Small problems feel overwhelming. Simple decisions become exhausting. Your fuse gets shorter. Your capacity for joy diminishes. Maintaining balance and harmony is crucial both in your inner environment, your body and brain chemistry, and outer environment, your relationships, work, living space. When both are in balance, you experience life from a place of well-being rather than survival. It's about reducing the unnecessary friction that comes from fighting against your own biology. It's about working with your design instead of against it. Under this Beaver Moon, the moon of building sustainable systems for winter, I invite you to try this for 1 week. Keep a brain food journal. After each meal, notice and write down how clear is your thinking 1 hour later or 3 hours later. What's your focus and concentration like? How's your mood? Stable or swinging? When does the brain fog appear or lift? When do you feel mentally sharpest? How's your energy level? Don't change anything yet. Just collect data on how different foods affect your brain function specifically. Notice the patterns. Which meals leave you sharp for hours? Which ones create crashes? What's the difference between eating whole foods versus processed? Between meals with protein, fat, fiber versus just carbs? Between hydrated days versus dehydrated days? Once you see the patterns clearly, changes become natural rather than forced. You will choose foods that support mental clarity not because you should, but because you genuinely want to feel clear, focused, and emotionally stable. From the cosmic perspectives we've explored this year, your brain is consciousness's way of experiencing physical reality. You are quite literally the universe becoming aware of itself through neural tissue. The quality of that awareness, how clearly you can think, how deeply you can feel, how creatively you can imagine, how compassionately you can relate, depends on the fuel and building materials you provide. When you nourish your brain with what it was designed to use, whole foods, stable energy, proper hydration, beneficial microbes, you support consciousness itself. You enable the universe to experience itself through you with greater clarity and depth. When you feed it substances that create fog, instability, inflammation, and dysfunction, you limit the universe's ability to wake up through you. You dim the light of awareness that you are. None of this is about morality or judgment. It's about recognizing that the vehicle of consciousness performs differently depending on maintenance. A well-maintained instrument produces clearer signals, richer experiences, and deeper insights. You have the power to choose which version you want to be: a foggy, struggling instrument of consciousness, or a clear, vibrant expression of universal awareness exploring physical reality. Thank you for joining me in this deep exploration under the Beaver Moon. As beavers build lodges to sustain themselves through winter, may you build nutritional practices that sustain your mental clarity and cognitive power through all seasons of life. Remember, whatever you eat is not just going to shape your body, but also your brain, your thoughts, emotions, and your life. Every meal is an opportunity to fuel consciousness or cloud it. Every choice for real food over processed substances is a choice for mental liberation. Every time you prioritize stable blood sugar, gut health, and proper hydration, you're choosing to experience life from clarity rather than confusion. Your brain is the most sophisticated structure in the known universe. 86 billion neurons, each connected to thousands of others, creating trillions of possible connection patterns. It's the physical substrate through which infinity experiences finitude, through which consciousness knows itself. Feed it accordingly. Honor it. Treat it as the sacred instrument it is. Until we meet again next month under the cold moon, pay attention to how food affects your mind. Practice compassion with yourself and curiosity about what truly nourishes your consciousness. The Beaver Moon tonight reminds us to prepare, to build sustainable systems, to gather what truly nourishes. Your brain is asking you to do the same, to build eating patterns that support its function, to gather foods that truly feed consciousness, to prepare yourself for optimal awareness. Stay nourished, stay conscious, and happy full moon.